there are also forms of very seriously good karma. Can you think what they might be? Which are on a par with killing your mother or father. Can you think what they might be? Seriously good? Any offers? Yeah? Meditating. But meditating until you reach the point where your mind is completely still. So what we would call entering on the first absorption. If your mind can do that, then that is so seriously good, then it tends to overcome even bad things which you may have done habitually. Yeah.
Sacrificing your life for somebody else?
This is a sort of thing, but the only one which mentions it's the meditation, okay? But if you would put your life on the line for something good, then this sort of things are getting into the same sort of ranking position. The only one that's mentioned is meditation to the point where you are touching upon absorptions. Okay. We talk about more about sacrificing one's life for good deeds in the 9th of this series, okay? About perfections. Most of us don't have these sort of deeds in our background, so normally when all things are equal, when you balance up the accounts of karma for your life, normally the thing at the head of the list will be the things which you've done close to death. What does this mean? Well, if you imagine someone who is lying on their deathbed, the last thing on their mind before they die is of a very great influence on their future. And you think why that might be? Why should the last thing on your mind be of such a great influence? Well, put it like this. The moment your mind breaks free of your body at death, the thing it takes with it is the last thing which you were thinking about before that happened. So supposing your mind was in a very positive state at the moment before it broke free of the body, that is the influential karma that is going to lead the mind to the next rebirth. Yeah? Not putting my neck out too far, okay? It's something we talk about later anyway. However, if the last thing on your mind is bad, even though you may have done good things all your life, that heavy karma, the moment your mind breaks free of your body at death, is going to pull you downwards instead. So this is why when a person is dying, we give this moment a very great deal of importance in Buddhism, because it is something which can mess up the people's efforts they've made throughout their life. It's not like certain religions who seek to be absolved for all their sins at the last moment before they die by getting a priest to be with them at their bedside as they're dying. But we're talking about mental states, okay? It's not that it brings things to zero, what you've done all your life, but we do recognize the very strong importance of this. Next we come to habitual karma, the things which we have as our habits. Why is habitual karma so important? Because the more you do something, the easier it becomes to do it. If you do something every day, it accumulates until it becomes not just a behavior anymore, it becomes part of your character. It becomes ingrained in your character. Supposing you do something every day like morning chanting, then if you don't do it any day, you feel irritated. Oh, something, I haven't managed to do my chanting today. Or if you have a bad habit like supposing smoking, any day you can't get your hands on a cigarette, then again you feel irritated. It's like it becomes more than just an arbitrary behavior. It becomes a part of what makes you who you are. And this sort of habitual things have a much heavier in the accounts of karma than things which you may do one time and never do again. So much of what we do on a course like this is to try to instill good habits. This is why we have a strict daily routine with more or less the same things in the daily routine each day. Because this is how we form new habits. It's by things which we do over and over again. It can be habits of mind, habits of speech, habits of behavior. But if it becomes habitual, that is somehow much stronger, has a much bigger influence on your future than something which you do one time and never do again. Last but not least is things which we do unintentionally. This might surprise you because yesterday I just told you that intention is has a key place in any form of action. We say that most karma comes from intentional action. But supposing a person didn't have anything very strong either in a positive or a negative way, which they'd done intentionally throughout their life. Supposing they were a sort of drifter who never did anything of their own initiative throughout their life, then the most influential thing in their karmic accounts would be the things which they did unintentionally. So in the absence of anything else, unintentional karma can also take a place. I give you one story by way of illustration of this. It comes from the scriptures. There was once an old monk who didn't have very good eyesight, and he was sewing his robe. And as he was sewing his robe, because he couldn't see very well, the needle pierced a louse which was in his robe, and it died. But when it died with ill will and vengeance on its mind against this monk who had killed it unintentionally. Of course, the monk didn't know anything about this at all. So, time went on. This louse had come to the end of its bad karma for being a louse. Next lifetime round, it was reborn as a man. But it wasn't born in a very high station in society. It was born as a hunter. And one day this hunter had grown up, maybe it was 10 years, 15 years later. He was coming back from the forest with a spear. And as he was coming back from the forest, he saw a line of monks coming in the opposite direction. And when he saw the monks come in the opposite direction, he thought to himself, oh, here are monks who are people like I am. Every day they do nothing but good deeds. How about me? I'm a person who every day of their life, they just do bad deeds by killing animals every day. There's not one day of my life which I manage to keep even 5 precepts. So he thought to himself, how about just one day I will try to keep 5 precepts pure. At least I will have something good in my personal history which I can think about maybe as I am dying. So with that thought, he threw away his spear. And behind that line of monks was some bushes. And behind that line of bushes was some other monks. The place where the spear happened to fall was right in the chest of a monk who was out of his sight beyond the bushes. And can you guess who that monk might be? Well, exactly the same monk who was short-sighted, who had been sewing the ropes in the lifetime when that hunter had been a louse in the robe. Also, he died unintentionally, you see. So in such a case, all we can try to do is to avoid being careless, avoid doing things unintentionally which we wouldn't like to happen. There are lots of tricks of karma which are worth discussing, but especially between habitual karma and karma close to the time of death. There's a lot here to learn, especially if you're the sort of person who is looking after a relative or someone who you feel close to who is dying. Then you can do a lot for them at the very end to try to encourage them to have a good state of mind as they are dying. because that may be a much stronger influence on where they go when they die than all of the things which they've done throughout their life.